We will get started now, everyone. So thank you very much for joining us. My name is Lexi.
And I'm Dakota. We are your co-head facilitators for AIM by YAIL. And welcome to the third session. We're finally at the halfway point. We're both super excited that you all have joined us for our inspiration and purpose session. To go over some housekeeping items really quick, please grab a piece of paper and pen for this session. Make sure your microphone is muted unless you're otherwise instructed by the speakers. Make sure your display name says the name you registered with, and only please display the first name and the first letter of your last name. If you are comfortable, please add your preferred pronouns beside your name. And then we also have closed captioning turned on. So if you want to turn that on or off throughout the session, you can go down to the bottom bar next to the reactions button. You can click on CC. We encourage all of you guys to turn on your video camera if you are comfortable. Now, Lexi will talk about land acknowledgement. You're on mute.
Thank you. We would like to recognize that we reside on the stolen land of the Coast Salish peoples. We come from a place of respect and gratitude to know we work, live, and learn on their traditional lands. As a group of people, we are committed to reconciliation and creating a better future for all by building strong relationships with and uplifting the voices of Indigenous folks. Please visit nativeland.ca to learn more about the land you are on. We would also like to recognize that it is Ramadan right now, so we would like to wish a Ramadan Mubarak to all that celebrate. And if you need to jump off early to break your fast, feel free to do so. Or if you just want to turn off your camera so that you can eat, that is completely fine as well. We are now going to pass it over to our chair of YAIL, Hank, for a couple words. So Hank, over to you.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Hank Adolfi. Many of you are returning. Welcome back to the third session of AIM by YAIL 2021. As I mentioned, the border crossing between Canada and the US is closed. In-person YAIL could not take place, but we have tried very hard to overcome that challenge by bringing the program online. As you go through each session, I ask you to ask yourself a few questions about what the speakers are saying, what your fellow YAIL participants are saying, and about what you are saying to others in your breakout rooms. First question, is what you are hearing and saying the truth? Sorting out the truth can be rather difficult these days. Second, is fairness to all a theme that you are seeing and hearing throughout the sessions? Third question, are the ideas and thoughts you see in the presentations beneficial to those who you are in YAIL with and to those who you encounter outside the program? Finally, how can you use what you've learned here in YAIL to develop your own personal leadership skills and to benefit those around you? We hope you are experiencing YAIL as the life-changing event it has been previously described as, and we hope that you will feel the same during and after our program. Thanks again. Welcome back to the third session of AIM by YAIL 2021. Now back to our head facilitators.
Great. Thank you so much, Hank. All right. And we also just want to recognize that we do have facilitators and committee members on the call with us tonight. They can be recognized by either FAC or committee beside their names, and then they will be leading you through our breakout sessions that'll be happening later in the session.
And then to go over our agenda, we have Danica Kilander kicking us off, and that will be followed up with a 10-minute Q&A. And then we will have Sumit Karn after that and follow that with a 10-minute Q&A. I'm going to pass it over to Allison to introduce our first speaker.
Hi, I'm excited to introduce Danica Kilander. So Danica Kilander is an organizational and systems change consultant and trainer. She's a social entrepreneur, a Jedi trainer for justice, equity, diversity, and impact, and a bolt of energy for most who meet her. Danica has been called a force of nature and an inspiration by many, especially those who have seen her TED Talk, heard her speak, or attended a YAIL dancing seminar. With a blend of somatic, interpersonal, reflective, and systematic exercises, Danica excels at making weird into normal and uncomfortable into fun. How should you prepare yourself for your time with Danica? Come as you are. You're exactly where you're meant to be. Over to you.
I'm assuming that means over to me. Okay, perfect. Heads nodding. Hi, how are you all doing? Yes, I need a moment from you if you wouldn't mind. If you have access to your keyboard, go ahead and just type in a few words about how you're doing right now. Let me know how you're feeling. I just want to do a quick check-in. I'll name ahead of time. I'm nervous. I always get super excited, but sometimes it shows up as nerves and my printer was doing something weird in the background. So when you're ready, go ahead and tell me, what are some of the feelings that are going through right now? I'm seeing fantastic, good, pretty happy. You're like a really easy crowd. What? Good, excited, amazing, tired but excited. I'm relating, Andy. I am relating. Positive, fantastic. We're here to learn. I like that one. Thank you. I hope I have something that's worth taking away. Give you another moment there. Okay, I'm going to key you up for the next one. Keep coming. Keep coming. If you didn't get your words in there, we are still here to listen. Enjoying the lovely evening and excited to be here again. I actually have the window open because it's so nice and I can hear the bird song outside my windows. I am also calling in from the Coast Salish land. I am north of Seattle, south of Vancouver, Washington, in a little place called Bow Edison. Thank you for having me here. I'd love to hear a little bit more from you again in the chat if you have access to it. Could you tell me a little bit more about a moment when you just felt or thought like, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be? Just, it could be a description. It could be talking about the feelings of that moment. If you could just share a sentence or two. Here's a time when I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. And by the way, if you don't have that moment, that's fine. We're okay. Go ahead and throw it in the chat if you're ready. Aha. Did you hear how like now my printer is going? I'm going to mute myself while you all tell me a little bit about a moment when you have just felt like you were in the right place, right time. How's that another way of saying it?
You're on mute, Danica.
Well, I just solved all the world's problems. Did y'all get that? I like that. Sorry, I was saying that I think Layla's is my favorite because it just says summer. Like summer is when I know I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Summer. Thank you for that. Playing in a rugby game and having deja vu about how the play was going to end up. When activities and actions feel like they move with the flow. April, tell me about a moment when that's happened for you. I'm very curious. When I got into an art school that I'm now in, congratulations, Maddie. When my family and I were all together in a car having a life talk. All right. Here's the deal. Sometimes folks reach out to me and they're like, hey, Danica, can you come and talk to us about like purpose and inspiration? And I think people call me for this because I have an uncommon approach, but I actually think that you probably use this approach like 1,000 times a day. So I will just acknowledge that I'm going to talk to you today about just like listening to your own internal gut and about some practices that we can use to use that, because I acknowledge that of the millions of decisions that you make a day, you are quite likely somebody who just occasionally taps in and goes, oh, I'm hungry. I should eat some food. I need to call that person right now. And you do like a quick body check and you go, this is what I need to be doing right now. One of the reasons I decided to come tonight is because I actually think that there's the gap between when we're using our guts and our minds and our bodies and our instincts to make a decision, and there's this other stuff that just keeps happening where we're occasionally acting out of what we think other people might need from us, have told us to do. There's that kind of concept of like, don't let people should on you. But the truth is there's a lot of shoulds in our society. So I thought as we kind of dive into finding our purpose, like helping to explore, like, where am I heading in this world? And what are some tools that I can take with me so that I can always sort of find my own personal and internal way as I go. I thought it might be helpful to have just some context. Sorry. So as I was growing up, there was a lot of stories about what purpose would look like, right? I'm a white woman. I am able-bodied. I am cisgendered and heterosexual. So for me, a lot of the stories that I heard were like, hey, you graduate high school, you go to college, you get married, you have to find a partner, and you have a child, and this is going to be the purpose of your life, and this is how you're going to do it. And you might find a job and you might stay there for a long time, and you have to make enough money so that this is the kind of house that you can live in. And I know that I'm not living in a vacuum, and neither are you, so that we are constantly as a society right now more engaged in conversations around like, what's actually happening with all of this stuff. So take a deep breath for me, will you? Thank you. I see your deep breaths. Take another one. I love it. I love seeing you breathe. Thank you for letting me share this moment with you. Here's a framework that I use and that I think might be helpful to just kind of take a snapshot and understand that in those moments when we're in our gut, we're probably exactly doing the things that are meant to be doing. And in those other moments when the stories are kind of crashing and we're feeling confusion, anxiety, and there's voices, but we're not sure if they're ours, they all have a part of this bigger framework. And for me, the story around this framework, I call it the lie. So there's a lie that's been told in our communities, in our society, in our country, on our continent for hundreds of years. And the lie goes like this, and I know it's going to sound familiar to you, but the lie is that white people are better than dark-skinned people. The lie also says that people with lighter skin deserve more than people with darker skin, right? And so like these are the original lies, like these are kind of the baselines. And so they showed up like, white men join on a this is not an anti-white, by the way, moment, but white men get on a boat, they come to the shores and they go, we deserve this. This is the best place. We should have these shores. And there's already people living on the land. And they say, yeah, but that doesn't count because you're dark skinned. We're going to take this. Right? So they live on the land, they take the land, they start growing on the land, and they go, we don't have enough people to work on this land, so we're going to need to bring some more people over. So they go, they look for darker skinned, they bring darker skinned folks over here, black folks, and they have them work on the land. The lie has been around in our country for hundreds of years, and it has evolved in remarkable ways, and I guarantee that it is showing up in your life in millions of ways that are both unique to you and also totally patterned and predictable across society. So I'm thinking about the ways that the lie will, depending on your skin color, on your age, on your size, on your region, on your language, which language you're speaking, the lie is telling you who you should be and what your next step should be in the world. How many of you are relating? Give me like a head nod if you're like, yeah, I can handle that. How many of you actually thought of some of the lie as I was saying things? Like, so for me, some of the first lies that I was aware of was like, oh, as a woman, I can only be listened to or heard or have any value is if I show up beautiful. So like tonight, I intentionally didn't put on my makeup. I didn't do a lot of hair. I like these earrings, so I put those on, but those are for me, not for you. Although you're allowed to enjoy them too. So tell me, what are some of the lies that popped into your head as I was just kind of giving you a general framework? Put them in the chat. What are some of the lies? I know you know them. And you can be specific and you can be general. Everyone is equal. Thank you, Kashvi. Sorry, I read that wrong. There's only one person who can tell me what a lie is. How about this? You got to make a lot of money to be successful. How about this? You got to be thin and fit for your life to be valuable. Girls can't do hard physical labor jobs. April nailed it. Keep going. That white people deserve more. Not being anti-white. I don't understand that one. That white people deserve more. I think I put the emphasis on the wrong spot. Women aren't as smart as men. Women cannot take on positions of power and leadership. That men have to be manly. Thank you, Alec. Thank you, Lexi. Thank you, Holly. Josephina, men can't have emotions. Yes. Danny, you need a degree to be successful. So I love, keep going, keep coming, because they're going to start flowing. And it's really actually very, very important sometimes to just name them to yourself, name them to the people around you. I have a 5-year-old daughter, we'll be watching TV or a movie. And I'm like, oh, babe, do you see the lie? And she's like, I totally see the lie. And she will just name like, everybody in this movie is white, mom. Or most of the leaders in this are white men, or that the girls only have lines if they're talking about how pretty she is. Like she's 5. We can learn to see the lie. Masculinity in a woman and femininity in a man right? The lie that those things don't exist. Life success is measured by material things. Okay, so you all get this. Remember when I said, like, I'm going to share things that you already know, but I think it's important that we keep keep bringing them. The education system teaches you everything you need to know, and it's always right. Oh, that one just like actually like makes my back teeth hurt. Keep them coming. Asian caused COVID. Yep. Women can't balance work and family. Yep. Once you've chosen your life path, it can't change. Yep. In order for people of color to have success, we must have help from a white person. Yep. Those are all terrible and harmful lies. And it's interesting because I know that they exist because we were able to just like riff them off. We didn't even have to take like time thinking about it, right? It is just a common sort of pattern that keeps throwing up in our lives and like vomiting into our heads. And I think it is a thing that when we start thinking about like, what do I do next? Sometimes we don't even acknowledge that the lie is kind of like banging around and they're like, I gotta make the right choice. I gotta make the choice for like the next 6 months. I've got to do the things that my parent, my partner, my bank account, pick a thing are going to agree with, right? A woman needs a man, lie. That people of color are villains, lie. Wait, I already read that one. You got any more to share? I'm here. I'm listening. Smart means good at school. Lie. I love that you all are good at this. Any more? So here's the obvious thing. There's a lie. It's in all aspects of our lives. It's in what we wear. It's in how we house. It's in what we eat. It's the medicine we get. It's the healthcare that we get. It's the way that we interact with each other. It's the way that stuff is packaged. It's the TV shows that we're watching. It's the movies that we're, right? And then there's this other thing, which is our humanity, which is our connection to each other, which is the internal voice. And you have it as well as this access to the lie. So let's jump to the thing that we need to know. I believe, I know, I am here to affirm that literally all of the answers that you have in your life are inside you. All of the answers that you need are inside you. So I'd like to share a technique with you. I'm sorry, I'm like keep checking my little list over here to make sure I didn't like some amazing part of wisdom I need to share with you, but you already know where we're going with this. Okay, are you ready? I would like to do an activity with you. And it's going to be a somatic activity, which just means you're going to be in your body for it. Like you've actually been somatically experiencing this whole moment, but I'm going to ask you to be aware of your somatics. So here, you are welcome to keep your camera on. You are welcome to keep your camera off. But if you do not have a lot of background noise, I would ask you to consider, and choose if you could, taking your microphone off, because in a little bit, I might ask you to just be in flow with your body and say some things. You don't have to worry if somebody else is going to talk. You're just going to tell me what's happening in your body. And it's going to go just like whoever gets to say it. And if you think somebody talked over everything, you're just going to say it. It's no big deal. But if you are willing to go ahead and like, if you have a semi-quiet space behind you, turn off your microphone now or turn on your microphone now would be a good time to do that. Thank you. If you need to turn off your camera for this, you can. All I'm going to ask is that we go inside. So for many of us, we can access that with our eyes closed. If you're not comfortable with that, you keep your eyes open. The activity will work just fine. But I'm going to close my eyes, although I might occasionally peek to see how you're doing over there. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes with me if you're comfortable with it, and to just take a big deep breath. And as you exhale, I want you to actually just push the air out a little bit and go. All I'm actually asking you to do is just like blow out some of the energy in your body right now. So inhale and blow it all the way out. You can have a voice, you can just breathe, it doesn't matter. If your body actually has some energy, you can shake it a little bit. Do it again. And if you find that your body's like, oh, as I kind of take those deep breaths, I need to adjust, then please adjust. I actually adjusted, so I was kind of sitting forward in my chair and I put my feet on the floor and I had my shoulders open, and I realized like, oh, that felt good with my heart energy. So I kept throwing my arms around for a minute. Do all the things that your body is telling you to do, because that is the point of this exercise, right? Like ideally, this will be the point of your life, is that you listen to your body. Mine does a lot of weird stuff. People call it ADHD. I love it. I love my moving body. So here we go. We're going to breathe again together. And we're going to just shake it out and give you a new warning. So we're going to do that one again. Ready? Inhale, shake it out and go. All right. Yes. Okay, you keep breathing as many times, as long as you want to, as loud as you need to. And if you could, kind of pull it into a center for a minute and just like sort of, if you imagine that your energy just expanded, I'm gonna ask you to just kind of bring it in. Just bring it in for a minute. And just become like super aware of like your face muscles. I can feel like a facial forehead cramp. Is that a thing? I had an eyelid cramp yesterday. True story, for like 6 hours. My husband was like, "Are you having a stroke?" I'm like, "No, I was just on Zoom for too long." So, sorry, that was distracting. Get back to your body, not mine. Here we go. Breathe it in, breathe it out. I'm going to give you a scale. Imagine it in your mind, like right in the center of you is the number 0. And over to your right, is this your right if I do it that way, or is that your left? Okay, somebody open your eyes. That's right. Perfect. Yeah. Just in case you have your eyes open, I'm going to model for you, but that's my left.
Give me.
Here we go. So you're imagining that there's the 0 right where your heart center is, and there's like a scale of 10 out your right side. You can just picture it. There's your 0, your 1, your 2, maybe your 5 is around your elbow somewhere, and it goes all the way to the 10s at your fingertips. Okay. You don't have to actually have your arm out. I just wanted you to imagine it. Then on the other side, the 0 is still on your heart. And then there's a -1 to -10 on your other side. So that would be your left side, correct? So you can imagine you're now in a scale of, in the center of the scale of 0 to 10, 0 to -10. You're right in the middle of it. Okay, take a deep breath. I want you to go into your mind for a moment, and I want you to like be in the moment when you like, and I'm going to say when you knew where you were exactly where you meant to be, but it might also just be a moment of joy. It might be, and it might be years ago. It might have been 2 hours ago, but just some moment where you're like, oh, this feels right. And I want you to like sort through and see if there's another one that's like, wait, there's another moment that's even like more right, that felt like so amazing. Get to that one. We're going to get as close to 10 on this scale. This is like the I'm exactly where I need to be scale. And you're just like breathing it in. Now I want you to start thinking about what is happening around you. Like, what does it sound like? Who's with you? Or are you alone? What is there a smell? And by the way, these can be fleeting moments. These don't have to be 20 hours or 20 minutes. It like literally just might be the moment. Like I got to see a hummingbird this morning, and I just breathed it in and it zipped away, and I went, oh, that moment. Okay, so I want you to get as close to that 10 scale as you can. Find that memory and then sharpen it. What are the colors? What is your body doing? Like, can you feel the temperature? Can you feel the clothing you're wearing or not wearing? Are there smells around you? Are there sounds? Breathe it in. I want you to just let it fully infuse you. We're going to stay here for a moment. Keep replaying it. What does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? Keep replaying it. And if you feel like, yeah, I'm in that moment. I'm in that moment. And if you don't feel like that, that's okay. Just keep breathing. You're okay. We can also learn from other people's experience. But if you are there and you're in that moment, I want you to do a check-in with your body. And I want you to tell me what you're noticing about your body. And this is when I would like you to speak out loud if you have your camera off. Even if you don't, just say it out loud. That's fine with me. But speak it out loud. What are you noticing in your body right now? When we go back to a moment where you're like, this moment, I am here in this moment, and this is the moment I want to be in. What is happening in your body? Say it out loud.
My body feels less tense and more relaxed.
It feels relaxed. Can you be specific? Like, what parts are relaxing?
My arms and legs and my head just feels very clear. I felt like my body just kind of let go.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, and keep them coming. If you notice, if you have some new sensations and awareness, tell us about them.
At ease.
At ease. Tell me more. Like, what does it feel like in your body when you are at ease? What are your shoulders doing? What's your face doing?
Smiling. I feel like my shoulders are relaxed, that I'm almost, it's like I'm floating, that I don't have weight pressing on my shoulders.
Wonderful. And what is your breathing like?
Steady.
And your heart rate?
Slow.
Who else? Share a thought and keep coming in if you have new awarenesses, new sensations. I'm particularly curious in what's happening with your face and your forehead, your neck and your shoulders, your breathing and your heart. What is happening when you go to that space where you're like, this is a moment of joy that I was meant to have. I'm here. I'm in this. I'm meant to be right here.
I feel less pressure on my chest.
Good. Keep it coming. What else do you notice?
Mine is similar to the last two as well, but like my heart rate's just a little bit up, probably because of the people that I'm around,
Uh-huh.
but in a good way. Like I feel happy and excited to be in that moment.
And what is your face like?
It's smiling.
It's smiling.
Yeah.
Awesome. Would anyone else like to share? I love this.
Like the tension around my heart is released and I feel relaxed.
Is there a temperature to your relaxation? Like sometimes for me, if I'm noticing my heart, it'll actually feel a little bit warm. What do you feel?
Yeah, it feels like a blanket has wrapped around it. Yeah.
Wrapped in a blanket. I'm hearing
I
relaxed.
feel like the moment feels like kind of similar to like a hug, I would say. Just feels comfortable and yeah, it feels like you can just let go.
What is your breath like right now?
Very steady and very slow.
Awesome. Anyone else like to share? For those of you who are able to get anywhere above zero, take that snapshot of your own body. You can remember the moment, but remember what's happening in your body. I'm literally asking you to memorize what's happening in your body right now because I want you to be able to recognize it because it is your body's way of telling you this moment of joy, of relaxation, this is the moment I deserve and that I'm in. And it will be our guide. Take a snapshot, notice what's happening. And if there's any other moment, anybody else who'd like to share, now's a good time to come in. Someone put in the chat, same. My breath has more depth. My mind is in ease and heart is slow. And they just wanted to let us know that they couldn't come for the microphone. And thank you, by the way, if you'd rather type it in, we're totally listening as well. Okay. All right. Slow. And I hate to do this to you. I'm so sorry to bring you out of that happy place if you were able to get there, but bring it on back. Is there anybody who would like to share for a moment and be like, I couldn't get there? Is there anybody that just is like, do you need a tip?
It was a little bit difficult at the start to like pinpoint like I don't know, a moment that I actually felt it, but it took a while and it got there eventually.
Yeah. Good. And thank you for your honesty. So like earlier when we were talking about the lie, I never actually named it, but of course we all know it. It's white supremacy culture, right? And there's like patterns in white supremacy culture. And one of them is perfectionism. So sometimes when a speaker gives me a prompt, I'm like, I gotta get the right answer. What is my best moment? And then I like stress myself out and can't get there. Did anybody relating to this? Like, yeah, I had a moment where I tried to get into perfectionism, even though I can't because perfection is not a thing that we can achieve. It's part of the lie, right? There's another thing, and it's the binary, right? So there's like an either or thinking that's a part of white supremacy culture. And it's like, there's only one right answer. And or I'm going to fail and I can't access my own body. Like, no, there's going to be like a floodgate. Like somebody said to me once and I related, like, it was like, I can't count sheep because sometimes the sheep are all like milling around and maybe like one goes through and the other goes through. And then they all just like stampede and get stuck in the gate. And I'm like, that is like a description of my brain all the time. So when someone's like, pick one happy memory, I'm like, I don't know, I'm kidding. And for whatever reason, I like think of all the bad ones. So again, raise your hand if you are relating. Yeah, a few people at least. Okay, listen, these are moments when we can go, that's the lie. I can have just a super messy, imperfect memory. Oh, look, I could even go, oh, there's like 3 at once I can play with. And you know what else is great? And we will do this in a moment. If you were like, yeah, I can't get to 10. I couldn't even get to 4. Shit's been real lately, and I just can't do this. Sorry, I stumbled, I filtered, and then I said it anyways. We can actually dream this space. We will practice this the next time. So if you were like, yeah, I couldn't get there, fine. The next time going in, or anytime you're like, I'm struggling to find my own memory, find your vision of your dream. Mine definitely involves like a tropical paradise, and there's like a waterfall and like a bamboo palapa. Like it is like sunny and gorgeous, and there's bird song and fresh fruit, and it's like, anyway. So think on that if you didn't have your own access point. So I hate to do this to you, but we're going to go back to 0 for a minute. And I need you to listen to these directions very closely. In a moment, you are going to be invited again. If you've turned off your microphone, I'm going to ask you to come back in and unmute yourself. You don't have to do it yet. We are going to slide down the sliding scale, the like negative experiences where you're like, I shouldn't be here. Do not, listen to me. Do not go to your worst place. Do not even go to, like, some of us have experienced some gnarly stuff in our lives, and we're not going into that right now. You can get to like, oh, that person's looking at me weird, and that is fine, right? Like, don't go to the dark and twisty places that you have been in your life where you're like, I do not want to go here. Go to the place where you're like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Right? Like I had this today. I had a lot of shoulds in my mind. I'm like, I should be doing this. Like I have this beautiful day and I have all this time and I should be planting stuff in my garden. And my body the whole time was saying like, sleep. But there was this moment where I was like fighting my own body. And like, that's like maybe a -2 or a 3 on my scale. That's -2 on my scale. You can go just a few steps down this scale, but I am going to ask you to come with me. Okay. Don't go dark and twisty. I'm telling you this because sometimes we can tap into those moments and then we don't have the skills in this moment on this very short call to get ourselves back out of there. So like, don't go there. Are you ready? We're going to not go there. We're going to go just a few scales down the negative, like -3, -5. The -6 is a fine zone. Don't go beyond it. Everybody with me? I'm not going to like trigger somebody into some like spin that we can't get out of right now. Okay. Breathe it in. We're going to go into those spaces in our bodies where we know that it's not like a great place for us to be, and it's going to feel a lot of feelings, and we're going to just observe them, and we're going to know that we are going to come back out of them. That is all very important for us to do in this moment and with this practice. Ready? Close your eyes if you're ready. Actually, don't close your eyes. Open your eyes back up. If you'd like, I would like you to unmute yourself because I would love to hear your thoughts. We're going to do the exact same thing, but in the opposite direction this time. Okay, now you can close your eyes. Take a deep breath. You're in your body and you are safe. And for a moment, I'm going to ask you to return to a time in your life, not the worst, not the most terrible, but some time that was just like, oh, I do not belong here. And I want you to see that moment. I want you to like expand on that moment. If you can find 1 or 2 and combine them. Breathe it in. I want you to see what's happening around you. What are the colors? What are the scents? What are the sounds? What do you feel? And I want you to brighten that moment in your mind. Sharpen all of the details and be there. This is a moment when you're like, I shouldn't be here. This is not right. I don't want to be here. This is not right. And I want you to be in it for just a moment. We will come out of it. For right now, I want you to be in it. And I want you to pay attention to what is happening in your body. What is your face doing? What is your neck and shoulders doing? What is your chest and your heart rate and your breath doing? And if you are willing and able to share right now, I would love the feedback about what is happening for your body right now.
I feel cold.
I feel cold. Tell me more. Where do you feel cold?
I don't know, like my whole body just feels like bad goosebumps, I guess.
Great. Good description. What else do you feel? Anything happening with your breathing or heart?
I feel like stressed or just like nervous.
Okay, good. I need you to tell me about the specific feeling. Stressed and nervous. You're recognizing the feelings and the reactions, but what does stressed and nervous look like in your body?
Just like being in an uncomfortable situation, so I just like my heart rate increases and my brain just starts processing like at 5 times the speed and everything's just moving really fast.
Okay, I'm hearing that your thoughts are racing, your breath is racing, your heart is racing. What's happening in your shoulders and face?
They're like tense.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I see in our chat it says, I feel myself condensing. I'm getting smaller and my heartbeat is racing. I'm alert and I'm unaware of what's happening.
I have a tendency to do this in like nervous situations where I start like shaking my leg.
Okay.
And yeah, I noticed that like I started doing that just a little bit right now too. Like just up and down, the bouncing your leg. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where you put your energy. Before you put your energy there, what was happening in your body?
My like I put my hands together and like I kind of started fidgeting a little bit.
Okay.
And like my shoulders tensed up a little bit. Yeah, and then I felt a little bit, not necessarily pain, but like my chest tightened just a little bit.
Mhm.
And yeah, and I noticed like from previous experiences, like my tummy starts like hurting a little bit, just a little bit, like, yeah.
Good. Those are excellent descriptions. And I'm going to ask all of you, take that detail of your own body right now, that awareness of what's happening with your breathing, with your legs, with your arms. It might be your skin. It's your face. Like, feel it. For me, my energy, just like Josephina said, my energy actually pulls in. I feel my body curl forward when I'm in this state. I feel everything just crank, which is the polar opposite of my other experience, which is where I'm open. I feel my breath and my heartbeat. Take a snapshot. I want you to memorize this moment. Memorize it. Feel it and know that this is your body saying, I don't want to be here. This is not what I want to be doing right now. This is not meant for me. I need you to recognize your body's way of saying, I don't belong here. This is not for me. It's telling you in your heart rate, what does that feel like? Because I need you to recognize when your heart rate does this, your body is saying, nope. What is your face doing right now? Because it is your body's way of telling you, no, not here, not now, not this. Okay? Our body is constantly communicating with us. I need you to take a big, deep breath, take that snapshot, come back out of this, come up to zero, and just take those big wiggly breaths that we started with. You can move your arms or not. Come back to zero for a minute. Just like shake it out. Sometimes going down the dark scale is hard. Some of us tip into a side that we didn't mean to go that far. Sometimes we stay there, we want to hold it, but we can't remember what the other side is. That's all very normal. Your body just curled in on itself. So unravel, take a deep breath. And unmute yourselves again one more time if you're willing. Actually, we don't need to be unmuted for this one because we're just going to slide back up the scale. We're going to go as far up the positive 0 to 10 scale that we can, whether it's a real memory, whether it's a memory that you could make even better, or whether it's a dream of your future that is so rich and so real, or an amazing place. It could be a vacation. It could be a feeling you get when a song comes on. But I want you to take a deep breath. Close your eyes if you're willing and able. And head as far up the positive 10 scale, as close to I am meant to be right here, right now. This is exactly where I'm meant to be, that feeling. Sharpen it. What are the colors? Make them bright. Make the lines defined. I want you to know this space and call it home. What is the sound that's happening? What are the smells? Now do that check-in with your body, because it's not as much about the memory, it's about the feeling. So check in with your body, like literally all the parts of it that you can think of right now and access. Like, what is your forehead doing? What about your face, your mouth? What is your mouth doing in your cheeks? What about your shoulders and chest? I want you to memorize this, because this, if you are able to get even partially up the scale to your joy points, and you can keep building and expanding and moving that 10 farther and farther out. But if you can start memorizing this feeling in your body, so do that, memorize it, and then breathe in. And if you need to stay there, stay. But otherwise, come on back and join me. You can still hold that feeling. You're just going to let go of the memory that you're sharpening. So listen, here's the deal. You will have millions of decisions coming ahead of you. And I know that some people call it, oh, thank you. Nilafar says, I was in tears. Wow. Wow. The difference is our bodies know. Our bodies know how to create and live in perfect joy, and how to tell us to get out. And I'm just going to say it because even as I'm saying it right now, because I was with you, I'm like, how do you get out? Here's the joy. I'm just going to keep saying that one. And I like to practice it, right? Like, just open my heart. Sometimes I can like force little bits of my body to at least begin the journey up. I can open my chest. I can roll my head. I can massage my face and get it activated. So as you move forward and make the bazillions of decisions ahead of you, I encourage you to take your deep breath, take the decision and run it through your mind and see the thing that's happening. So I was talking to my husband, I was trying to imagine, like, what are some of the big decisions that are coming up for you all? And I'm imagining, like, gosh, what are you going to do this summer or next fall? Like, I know that we're like a society that has to plan so far in advance, right? Like, am I going to stay home? Am I going to stay in this dorm? Am I going to get a new roommate? Am I going to get a different job? Am I going to move here or there? Am I going to stay in that relationship? Even just the need to know so far in advance. Like, I can already feel it. My body's like, don't do that. That didn't feel good. Stop doing that. Just live in this moment. Like, my body is already telling me that because I practice this. Also, though, what I have done in the past that is very helpful, if I have several decisions, well, first of all, don't make a decision if you only have two options. You haven't thought about it long enough if you only have two options. Even if they're two great options, throw some like wacky stuff in there just so that you have more options, like learn to ride the unicycle, go and work in a circus. Clearly, I'm very circus oriented today. Build a trapeze there. I threw that last circus one in there for you. And then all the other things that are on your list, but you focus on the thing. So let's say, should I get that internship this summer? Should I take that job? Sit with that question, imagine the job, ask your question to your body, and then rank it. Is it a -4? Is it a +4? Is it a 10? Your body will tell you, because it's processing things that even our own thoughts, our own like logic, our own language can't catch up with. But it's like processing things and taking things in and ready to support you in your ultimate joy at any given moment. And I'll tell you right now, the lie says that you're not supposed to have ultimate joy. And that is a lie. I'm like very aware of the time, and I was supposed to give you Q&A, and you have like a minute and a half left. Let go. I'm just joking. I'm sorry. I really realized I got like really into the body somatic stuff, and then I've screwed up our time frame. How are we doing out there? Somebody coach me on what you'd like me to do next. I have a few thoughts, but
we can take a couple questions quick. Just yeah.
Really, nothing? Come on.
I don't really have a question, but I needed that today. Like I just needed that today. And yeah, my last couple of days have been like really overwhelming. And so this like really helped me like just center myself today. And I have a couple of decisions to make, and I'm really thinking that through my head right now. So
yes,
thank you for that.
Oh, Avneet, first of all, I want to say that you did the work, so you got there yourself. So credit to you, because you even said like, you could have given up then. You're like, no, I'm going to find the scale. And you can keep, I would encourage all of you, hone your scale and then expand the joyous side. Like there were times in my life where I couldn't find any of the joy, and I just had to like build my imagination and my awareness of it. Keep building your scale and your awareness of what's happening in your body. And Avneet, I am super excited to hear how these next decisions go for you. I'm seeing some questions in the chat, and it says, what inspires me to speak on this? For me, I live and breathe the work. So we use JEDI, which is justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. For me, I was raised in a white area believing that I was some, here's my special whatever. And then I got out there and I just learned like, oh, so much of what I know is a lie. And I wish somebody had just told me the truth earlier, because I was listening to all these other people and kept losing my way and kept getting hurt and kept trusting people I shouldn't have trusted and kept just all the stuff that you already know because it's happening to you too. And then I realized like, wait, no, I don't need permission. I don't need advice. I don't need that information that they're giving me. I will know when it's time to ask the question. I will feel and know when it's time to listen. I will know when it's time to move and to act. And I just thought, gosh, if somebody had told me sooner, or maybe they did and I wasn't ready to listen. But if this is your moment, I'm glad I could be here for it. Okay, I'll acknowledge the time again. How we doing?
I would say go ahead and answer that last question. And
yeah. So April, I see a question from April, and it is, when did you find mindfulness and implement it in your life? And I'll tell you this. I already mentioned I have the 5-year-old daughter, and I asked her today, I said, babe, I have a keynote speech. She's like, what's that? And I said, it's about purpose, like finding a purpose. Like, what would you tell them? And she goes, Mom, it's just so important that they listen to their heart. And I said, but what does that mean for you? Like, how do you know when you're listening to your heart? She's like, it's just the thing that's inside me and it's so loud, I can't not listen to it. And so April, to answer your question, I just truly believe that we are born mindful. We are born aware, and we are born with such a powerful compass of morality and connection and humanity, and we must be taught all this other shit. So I think you're at such a beautiful phase, because you're and what a great time to learn and unlearn at the same time. And I love having a 5-year-old because I can help just make sure she doesn't learn the crap the first time, right? But it's in your body and you've known it your whole life and you've been taught not to listen to it, but now you can practice how to listen. And if it wasn't perfect this time, forget it. Forget the perfection. Center on the fact that you are capable of totally living in the center of your life, literally just by being you. And I'll add one more thing. You must expect that as you listen to your heart, you will end up sleeping more. I just have to say this. Whenever I get back into the phase of deep awareness, I end up resting so much more than I do when I'm frantic in the world. So that's that. I am being asked if you all can contact me. I will just throw my email address in here and name that I am on Facebook, I am on Instagram, and I am on email, and I pretty much occasionally answer any of those. My heart often just says, get away from your screen. So FYI, I'm here for you. If you have any questions, if you want to walk through that again, I would love to support you on your journey. And I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Danica. That was great. Those were awesome exercises and awesome reminders, especially during such a stressful time with so many choices. So thank you so much for that. And then now we'll pass it over to Austin to introduce our next speaker.
Yeah, thanks again, Danica. I'll get your info there. So I'll take no time to introduce our next speaker, actually a fellow rotor actor. His name is Sumit Karn, and I am honored to introduce him. He's actually a service-focused professional with a strong commitment to serving the needs of disadvantaged youth and adults with limited to no access to education, employment, or resources. So India's largest media publication house, Danica, actually mentioned him as one of the top change makers of India. which is pretty amazing. And then Washington's Herald Business Journal recognized him as one of the emerging leaders of Snohomish County. So let's just say Sumit Karn is not holding back when it comes to service above self. For the last 5 years, Sumit has been working with STEPS, which is an agency within the Washington State Department of Social and Health Services, and receiving the 2016 and 2018 Exceptional Work Ethic Award for his exemplary work with developmentally disabled youth in Snohomish County. A former Fulbright scholar, Sumit currently serves as the board member of Leadership in Snohomish County and is an active member of Rotaract Club of Snohomish County. Like I said, a fellow Rotaractor. So welcome, Sumit. Great to have you.
Thank you so much. And also, Danica, I don't know how, your talk was amazing. I wish I would have came earlier. It was just, I just felt something missing there. So, but it was amazing whatever I could attend a part of it. So let me share my screen. And it seems like a lot of it will be what Danica might have shared, but I will have some stories, some personal anecdotes, and some that you might be interested in. And so today I'll be talking also about inspiration and purpose. And also, as Danica was saying, that, we are born aware with our purpose and our inspiration. And so I think, finding that within you, within yourself, is what I'll be talking about. So, what will be the intended outcome of this this talk is that, become more deliberate in weighing your perception against reality to enhance your reason. And I'll be using some of the analogies of invisible knapsack, or, something I call front pocket, front pocket things that we keep in our front pocket. And the second would be to see inspiration as a source of personal fulfillment and understand ways to inject that spirit into your community. We are all Rotarian here. We all believe in service above self. We all, our theme, presidential theme, that serve to change lives. We all believe in that. And so, talking about community will be just fitting there. To heighten your appreciation for purpose in personal and professional leadership. And here I'll share some of my own stories and some of the stories of people that I have encountered in my life, and how they have been able to achieve their goals. And so before we get into all those conversations, I wanted to start with this name story activity. And I feel like, when we are talking about ourselves, what can be more fitting there than talking about our name? What can be more self there than our name? And in this activity, what we'll do is, you have these questions here. You can use some of your own, think about yourself and think about your name. What is your name? How did you get your name? What special meanings does it have? What does it mean to you? You can also share that, who keeps you grounded, then you can talk about why did you, who gave you this name? Where does it originate from? And so what we'll do is we'll together here, take 5 minutes or 5-10 minutes, 5 minutes probably, and, find out those things, your name and what does it mean to you? And, then we'll get into a breakout session and we'll discuss it with some of your peers. And then we'll come back and then we'll share maybe 1 or 2 or 3 stories of your name. Okay, so we'll have 5 minutes. Let's say we'll take 5 minutes to write down your name and just think about it. What does it mean to you? What is it? Or any stories that you want to share about it. And meanwhile, I'll ask any of the facilitator to figure out how we can make into a breakout session. It seems we have.
Breakout rooms are good to go, so just let us know when you want them and we'll send them over.
Okay, so it's 7:54. Let's say we get into breakout rooms at around 7:58, 7:59. And these are some of the questions here. You can use a paper, you can write your name on the paper and, just share your story through there. One thing that I would want to say that, in order to understand the issue of diversity, it is important that we understand ourselves and we recognize the unique stories. So these stories will be valuable, especially for you. So do you guys feel ready to go into the breakout rooms? Just, yeah. Well, I was sharing with a few people who were in the main room that, why my name is Sumit Karn, and what is the story behind it, and I'll share it with you, everyone here who's present. My last name Karn, it came from my mother. Despite growing up in a patriarchal society, when my father passed away when I was very little, my mother decided to give me her name Karn, and that's how I received my last name, which is really not normal in India, at least, and many parts of the world, I believe. And my first name is Sumit, which is Su means good and Meet means friend. So I would love to hear from one or two of you, what, any stories that were there, or maybe you can talk about, what was it like to tell name stories? What did you find interesting, surprising? Does your name reflect anything about your social identities, your gender, race, ethnicity, religion, social class? And how does this activity relate to diversity? And we can talk about this a little bit, but I would love to hear.
I'll go. Is it okay if I have the screen? Because I was just going to answer
yes,
sort of questions in order.
Yes, let's do that.
Thank you. So hearing the stories, it was like everyone had like a different background of like, some didn't have like, I'm saying they're probably meaningful to them, but it wasn't just like a long story. Some of them were just like short and sweet, versus like other people had like deep, meaningful, like, I don't have any meaning behind my name. So at least I don't know if I do. The social identities one, I think like, especially in like, I'm pretty sure it probably happens here too, but in India, like your last name's kind of like, my parents do this, I hear them doing this, so they're like, oh, what's your last name? And then they sort of like, there's just this class rating. They don't like mean to do it, but it just comes from the culture that they come from. So like it's automatically embedded in their like brains, and they just like automatically go to that. And I feel like this activity relates to diversity because everyone comes from different backgrounds and everyone has different meanings to their names, and it's different for everybody, right? Their names mean different things to everybody. Oh, sorry, I'm having a hard time speaking right now. But
I agree.
Yeah, that's it.
You talked about the last name, and last name has so much value in it, or so much meaning in it. I'll give you one example, and actually one small story. In 2012 December, I was going to Los Angeles with two of my friends, my roommates. One of my roommate was Muhammad Adnan Ali. He was from Pakistan, and my name is Sumit Karn. And so my name Sumit Karn sounds a lot like Sumit Khan, right? And he was Muhammad Adnan Ali. So we were in the bus. We stopped at Portland. When we were catching a different bus at Portland, 3 or 4 police people, they walked into the bus, and they singled us out, saying, who is Muhammad Adnan Ali and who is Sumit Khan? He didn't even say Sumit Karn. Who is Sumit Karn? Who is Sumit Khan? And who is Muhammad Adnan Ali? And they asked us to come out of the bus. They asked us to take our luggage out. They checked everything in the luggage, and when they didn't find anything, they let us go. So you're right. Sometimes these surnames or names or these Muhammad, these how much they reflect, or the identities that they reflect in the community. I think it's and that's how we can say it also relate to diversity as well. So maybe one more story that we can hear from somebody, something.
Well, it's I don't know if it's humorous or not, but if you remember when Muammar Gaddafi was trying to be apprehended. Well, I was in the airport and they asked me what my name was, and I said Hank Adolfi, and they immediately pulled me out of the line and said, would you say your last name again, please? And I said, Hank Adolfi. And they said, oh, okay, because it sounded like Gaddafi.
Yeah. Okay, so let's actually move further in our presentation. So now let's talk about this, invisible knapsack, or something that I call, this front pocket analogy. Invisible knapsack, we all, have this invisible bag or knapsack where we keep our race, ethnicity, gender, age, physical ability, socioeconomic status, religion or sexual orientation, language. And also we always, we all have these front pocket. In our front pocket, we all have these, we all keep this perception, biases, privileges. And whenever we interact with anybody, in our community, or, anyone we meet, or even in our own life, we strive to become something. We have all these things in our front pocket or in our knapsack. And that's how we move forward in our life. Just before attending this, this talk, I was attending a conference where Cornel West was speaking at University of Washington. And one of the quotes that he said, and I jotted down, I thought I would share with you guys. It is one of his older quotes, but he was reiterating there. He said that in these downbeat times, we need as much hope and courage as we do vision and analysis. We must extend the best of each other, even as we point out the vicious effect of our racial divide and pernicious consequences of our maldistribution of wealth and power. And so we have to sink in all these things, and we have to keep reminding ourselves, or keep in mind all these things when we move forward in our life and think about our own goals, purposes, and everything. So here is something, it's an inspiration. When we talk about inspiration, there are a few things, as Danica was saying, that, everything we are born with, being aware of everything. And so there are things, in ourselves that that plays a role when we are moving forward in our life. And so one of the first thing that I, and this is from this leadership curriculum by Adam Seaman, he talks about these 4 things. He talks about self-knowledge. And he says that, it is, self-knowledge is a continual process of looking inward and taking an introspective inventory of yourself. It can be positive, it can be negative, and it can, it can be unknown. And one of the stories that I want to share with this would be, there's this guy, one of my mentor back in India. His name was Ajay Sahib. When I moved to Delhi from my small village, I moved to Delhi, I met him. And this guy, he was one of the bureaucrats. He was one of the very well-known personality, not because what sort of work he did, but he was a bureaucrat, he was a minister. He left everything, all those work, and he decided to go and serve in these slum areas, teach little kids in the slum areas. Now it's really important when we talk about that, who you are, it's important to talk about understanding yourself, and knowing about yourself is very important. And as you young people, when you're moving forward in your life, do some, introspect, sit down and think about it. That, what do you want to do in your life? What are the positives? What are the negatives in your life? The second one here is self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is a constant evaluation of each of us conducts throughout the day. It can be from self-acceptance, it can be from self-rejection. And this example literally applies on me. I grew up in a very rural village in India. As I had said earlier, that my father passed away when I was 5-year-old. We lived in poverty. My mother, who has never even been to high school, she took me and my 3 younger siblings to Nepal. And she did all sort of menial jobs. She cleaned houses, did all sort of menial work. And that's how she cared for us. Many times she wouldn't eat, but never let us sleep hungry. And so what I, from there, I realized that who I am. And we can think of it as a positive, we can think of it as a negative. We can accept it in a positive way, we can accept it in a negative way. And I worked hard for whatever I am, today, or wherever I am today. I came to Delhi, I applied for scholarships, I received Fulbright, came here, studied. Now I'm here past few years. Now I'm going to do my doctorate at Columbia, and on a full ride scholarship, which is, understanding that journey and accepting yourself of whoever you are and wherever you come from and whatever your identity is. It's very important, and you need to accept those things in order to move forward in your life. The third one is self-development. And it is something, there's a book that I read. It's called Sour with Your Strength by Donald Clifton. He does research on many people, and in his research, he finds something very interesting. He finds something that people who excel, in their life, they excel not because they are, taking their weaknesses and making it, their strength. He said that, people who has excelled in their life, what they do is they take their strength and make it stronger. People who have, those strengths make it more and more stronger. So that's where, he says that self-development starts with a focus on areas that are an extension of your authentic talents. So find your strength, what is your strength, and harness it so that, you can become the leading voice and on whatever that topic is or whatever that your goal is. And there's this, and one of the examples that I can also associate with this, one of the stories, when I was in Delhi, there's this girl, Manisha, who was, so that mentor that I said, Ajay, with my mentor, I used to go to this slum called Anna Nagar slum. And in that slum, I would go and teach children. That's where I met this girl named Manisha. And she, being, that living and growing up in that environment. But one thing that she was really good at, she was good at mathematics. And she, she would come to our session every time we enrolled her at a nearby school. She worked so hard on her mathematics and she focused on it day and night, focused on it. And just, a few years ago, I heard that, she works in an IT company. She doesn't live in the slum anymore. She messaged me on Facebook that, she works in an IT company and she has moved farther in her life. So it's very important to work on yourself, whatever your strength is, keep harnessing it. And there's this, this famous philosopher, his name is Rumi. He says that, water the flowers, not the thorns. So let it sink in. Water the flowers, not the thorn. You may have many thorns, but you need to water the flower, not those thorns. So that's there. And then there's the self-assertion. The self-assertion is the quality of advancing yourself, oneself, your values, your aspirations, your views. And so continue to work on these things. The last here, let me talk about the purpose. Purpose is one of the most important things in our life, all of us. Without a purpose, we are nothing. And so how, purpose is why do you get out of bed? Why did you decide to come and, rather than sleeping or rather than going out in the evening, decided to come to this conference or, this talk, or, why, does something needs to be done? And so that's what is purpose, your purpose. It keeps us focused. And how do you find your purpose? That is the main question, I guess, for everybody, for people all over the world. So something that really reminds me of is, one of these, Steve Jobs gives a talk at a commencement speech at Stanford. And he says, in his speech, he says, connect the dots. He says that you can only connect the dots looking backward. You cannot connect the dots looking forward. And it is this sentence is so important in finding your purpose. And I can tell you how I found my purpose. I grew up in a rural village. The schools that I have attended growing up, my schools wouldn't have, basic necessities like toilet rooms or, tables or benches. Teacher wouldn't show up. And there's a, when there's a rain, the water would, flood, there will be flood all over. And so in the school, so and all the jobs that I have done in my life, even in the past, looking back, I could have worked in a I could have worked in, selling a soap, but I decided to work for a state department working with the developmentally disabled youth. I could have spent my time, going out, but I decided to use those time to come into these Rotaract meetings. So those, connecting those dots, and then, trying to see that what are those dots and how do they connect, and then using those to, decide your purpose, your goals of your life is what how you find your jobs. And it's for you guys, you are young, see what are something that interest you. If you're looking at internet, what are some of the things that you look very often, what something is that interest you guys, and so do that, work on that. And now that you have, what is your purpose or what is your goal, how will you tackle it? So like for me, I saw that those things in growing up. So now I decided to study education policy and do my PhD in there so that I could work with the governments to help them navigate policies that can change those situations. And so this is the journey, finding a purpose, and then finding a way to goal to finding a way to find success there. And then that will be the outcome, will be whatever the goal that you have. And then clear purpose, it begins with the self-knowledge. So it is important that you know yourself, who you are, and then you can find your purpose. And at last, I just want to share this quote with Carl Jung, one of the famous psychologists. He says that when goals go, meaning goes. When meaning goes, purpose goes. When purpose goes, life goes dead in our hand. So we need to find our purpose and we need to work, keep at it all the time. So thank you so much for listening to me. And if you have any question, you're more than welcome to ask me. I'll just stop sharing this.
Yeah, thanks again, Sumit, Karn. That was amazing. You did a great job at encouraging that kind of unique and really critical self-reflection there, which I think would benefit everyone. So yeah, any questions, guys? Like we got time for sure. Anyone in the chat, or just unmute yourself? Well, I guess I'll ask you a question. When did you say you moved to Delhi?
Oh, I moved to Delhi in 2008. So I grew up in Bihar, and then Bihar is a northern part. It's in the northern part, and I moved to Delhi in 2008 for more, look for jobs and stuff. When so as I said that, my mother who would work, so I started to look for jobs, and that's why I moved to Delhi to look for jobs. And so I started working there, and that's where in 2011, 12, I found this full, learned about this Fulbright scholarship, and I applied for it. And so that's how I came here in 2012.
Okay.
I have a question that I can ask. What would you say is your biggest form of inspiration?
I feel like, understanding my purpose, who I am, where I come from, and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think that is my inspiration. Every day, as even for all of you, you decide to spend your time here instead of going somewhere else. I feel like knowing that thing is very important. Understanding your purpose is very important, and I think that has been my inspiration. Seeing my own upbringing. I had a friend growing up. His name is Murari. This guy was one of the most intelligent person that I've ever come across. He wanted to be a scientist at NASA. And now he's just he's selling vegetables in his village. Now, I'm not saying that his job is any menial than becoming a scientist, but his goals were to become a scientist. And if he's not able to achieve his goals, I think that is wrong. And so that is my purpose. That's where I see that is my inspiration to continue every day all the work, so that I can build policies, or I can push governments to build policies to support these young generation all over the world, not just in India, and in other countries like Africa or all over the world. So that is my inspiration. I have some questions that I see. Thank you, Sumit. Sorry. Where are your siblings and what are they doing? Great. So, Carol, I have been, both of my siblings, they are in Delhi. My sister just finished her master's degree. Now she's actually moving to Canada and get her PhD from Canada. And she's only 22-year-old. And so she'll be starting her PhD from Canada. How did you get connected to? I got connected to Rotaract with one of the Rotaractor in our group from Snohomish County, Morgan. So I was attending my undergrad at WSU Everett, and she wouldn't stop talking about Rotary and Rotaract. So then we that's how I got in, learn about Rotaract, and I got involved, and then I learned that Rotary is not just American thing; it's all over the world thing. And people who are part of Rotary, they're part of the world. They live in a global world. They don't just live in America or Canada. And so I think that's how I got connected with Rotaract, and I have been since then. I have always been involved with Rotary and been coming to all the meetings, participating. John is asking, what has been your toughest challenge and how did you overcome it? My toughest challenge has been adversities in my life, all the adversities in my life. It can be the financial adversities, it can be the health adversities. I was diagnosed with cancer 3 years ago. And when I went to see a doctor told me that you have to have surgery immediately. If you won't have surgery, it can be very fatal. And so I had the surgery, was in bed for a month or so. Luckily, they were able to remove the tumor from my body, but be it a cancer, be it my own upbringing and challenges. But to say the truth, it's not just me. If you see people, I am lucky and fortunate to be in one of the best countries in the world. We can argue Canada and America, but one of the best countries in the world. And having all these opportunities to be a part of study at all these great universities. I've now I'm going to one of the Ivy League with a full ride scholarship and all these great opportunities that have come my way. So I do not say that I have had those challenges, but I have always learned to overcome it, and I have worked hard at it. Do you feel proud growing to their names, or people give their name meaning through the way in which they live their lives? Can you explain this question, AJ?
Yeah, sure, man. Sorry. So okay, I saw this Michael B. Jordan interview, and basically he was named Michael B. Jordan because his dad was Michael A. Jordan. This is kind of funny. Maybe he'll have Michael C. Jordan, but anyways, so, but also his name is also like the greatest, the name of the greatest basketball player ever, Michael Jordan. And so he always lived with this chip on his shoulder that he had. He felt like he had to become something great so that people would know Michael B. Jordan and not just know him as and think of the greatest basketball player ever. So in a way, he became great. In one sense he grew into his name, but in another way he also took ownership of his name.
Yeah, and I also I don't know if I think you might have been in when I shared about my own name history, that my name was Sumit Das. It was not Sumit Karn. It was Sumit Das when I was born. It was based on my father's name, my father's last name. But if a person dies, especially in a rural part of India, and you are women has to suffer a lot, right? But my mother is a rock star. She's like a superstar. She's like a rebellion. And so she decided to give me her own name, which was unheard at that time. Nobody had heard that, a woman would give her own name to their children. And she decided to give all three of us our own name. And we went through it, and I accepted it. And later, people are surrounding me, they accepted it, the community accepted it. So, change is possible, and believing in it is possible. So I think, yes, Yeah. There's another question. What made you decide to go to Columbia? I was accepted to many different schools. I was accepted to Harvard, Stanford, Columbia, not to like just toot my own horn, but I was accepted to all these schools, Harvard, Penn, but Columbia gave me a full ride. They gave me $150,000, which will cover my tuition, my staying, my personal expenses and everything. And so that's why I decided to go to Columbia. So if you guys here, I'm gonna share my email, and I'm also on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere you can connect with me. And if you guys need any help, literally any help, that is what what I do. I work with a lot of young people, not only in America. I work with a lot of young people, even in India. There are many nonprofits in India or organizations in India where I connect with the students. I mentor young students to achieve whatever they want to achieve in their career goals and everything. So if you need anything, I am always here. This is my email, my name. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere literally, and connect with me. If you have any question even afterwards, happy to stay connected.
Yeah, thanks again, Sumit. Karn, round of applause for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Austin.
And I highly encourage all of you again to really utilize the connections that you've been offered here with Sumit, Karn, and also Danica. And they've both given you their email and their contact information, and they're really would be great people to have in your contacts list, I'm sure. So thanks again. And I'll just pass it over to Lexi and Dakota.
Unmute myself here. All right, thank you so much to Danica and Sumit. That was amazing. Thank you for teaching us and inspiring us to be our own inspiration and to find our purpose in life. I personally feel so inspired and just amazing. Thank you. It was absolutely wonderful having you both join us tonight. And thank you to all of you as well that joined us tonight. Huge, every session has just been fantastic and just keeps getting better and better. But you guys being here is really what helps that make it such a great experience. So one last thing before we jump off for the evening, the survey link is on the screen right now, and then also in the chat. This is just our feedback survey, so please fill it out for us. Tell us what you thought, what you liked, what you didn't, how we could do better. Just tell us how we're doing so that we can keep making the sessions better and better for you. And then don't forget to join us next week for our 4th session on Thursday, May 6th at 7 p.m. We're going to be talking about life changes. And another reminder that if you attend all of our sessions and attend Interact Rotaract Night, you will have a chance to win prizes. If anyone wants to stick around for a couple minutes and just ask a couple more questions, you're welcome to do so. But if you want to jump off for the evening, thank you so much for joining us and have a great night.